Dr. Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just want to, if I may, just conclude my remarks now in support of my SOP, just with the following comment. At the end of the SOP, I do make the point of explicitly saying, in light of the Paris Agreement signed by New Zealand. And I think that's the critical point I want to bring to the attention of the House, because Paris Agreement dated December 2015 is the one that is directly relevant to how we, as a global community and a national community, now plan our transformational pathway to a low-carbon economy over the next 15 years and the next half-century. But Paris Agreement makes one other thing very, very clear, and that is that the current INDCs are insufficient. I don't have it in front of me, but the wording is pretty close to current INDCs will fall well short of what is required for a 2-degree pathway. Well short of what is required for 2 degrees. The agreement also says that we need global emissions need to get down to neutrality sometime in the second half of the 21st century. And the experts tell us that really means, because it was fudged a bit by the governments at Paris, that we're really talking about 2060 to 2080. And the general agreement consensus is it's the 2070s. So we're talking about global neutrality by 2070. The Paris Agreement also says that, notwithstanding the universality dimension of Paris, which was the major and qualitative step forward, notwithstanding that, quote, developed countries must continue to take the lead. Almost all experts recognise that means that developed countries have to get close to carbon zero around about 2050, 2060, so that the developing countries can follow. I have heard one breathtaking theory that New Zealand could allow itself carbon neutrality around 2090, thereby still be consistent with the 2-degree pathway. It's true. Thereby implying, if that were the case for all developed countries, that the other 160-odd states parties would all fall into line brilliantly in the 10 years, 2090 to 2100. But set that aside for the moment. The general consensus is that the developed countries have to aim for carbon neutrality, and some are formally stating that now, by the middle of the 21st century, and then the developing countries in the latter part of the 21st century. Now, if you take that, we have to then recognise, in all humility, and I'll share the humility with the government, that a 50% target for New Zealand in 2050 is demonstrably inadequate. For what it's worth, I'll conclude on this. It's the Green Party did make it clear last year that we believe that 40% cut by 2030 is entirely possible. That rests on research that we commissioned from experts around the country that make it clear that if you adopted a set of benign assumptions, you just assumed the best of all worlds in New Zealand. Policy optimality, political consensus, private-public collaboration, linear improvements in technology, best practices in the farms, the firms, and the households. Just an optimal, benign scenario for New Zealand. You could get way beyond. So what would be the theoretical maximum potential mitigation in that situation, the experts say? And then you bring all those figures together, you can go way beyond 40%. You can perhaps get as far as 60 or 70%. Now, in the real world, we're all realistic enough to know that that may not happen. But it's worth exploring the theoretical potential in the best of all worlds, and then challenge ourselves, every political party, every individual MP, the government, every individual cabinet minister, and every individual New Zealand citizen to aspire to that. And let's start the dialogue. Thank you.